So the RTX 5090 costs $2,000. And Jensen says it's perfectly fine because you're going to put it in your $10,000 battle station.
You bring it home to your $10,000 command center. Isn't that right? Don't tell me that's not true.
The thing is, Nvidia is marketing this GPU and actually their entire 50 series GPU on this multi-frame generation DLSS 4 technology. We've seen frame generation before with their DLSS 3.0 technology. It had frame generation, and this one is just an iteration on that, which means it has all the same issues. It will add latency to your gaming experience. It'll actually be worse than running at your native base frame rate, but it's going to look a lot smoother than your native frame rate. But Nvidia is claiming these frames to be real performance. You see it all over their marketing. It's the same thing, apparently, to them. Now, is that actually good? I've been very critical about this, and I actually have a 5090. Nvidia sent me one. And today, we can put it to the test. A blind test. So I got Cameron here, as I'm giving him blind tests. Is frame generation on? Is upscaling on? Is this worth using with ray tracing?
Is it worth $2,000?
Yeah, it's a freaking $2,000 graphics card. Now you might be wondering, how does this blind test work? Well, I'm going to be picking the settings in the game, and then Cameron is going to be coming in and out of the room. He's going to have to try to figure out what's going on, if he wants to, or he can just try to say, does it feel good? Does this experience feel good just as an average person playing the game? Way I'm able to use multi-frame generation in DLSS 4 early is because Nvidia did provide some beta keys for the games. So just know that these aren't full releases of the games and they could improve over time. Well, now we gotta take it as it is right now. You're gonna be like, oh, but that's not a blind test because you can see the FPS right in the corner of the screen along with the latency right below it. But I'm going to tell you that we couldn't see the FPS during the test because in the most professional way ever, I covered that up with a paper towel. But I still recorded it and it's in the recording so you guys can get an idea of what we're feeling and what we should be seeing. I think that'll tell a lot of it. So let's go ahead and jump in.
I personally don't like needing to use gimmicks to run a game. I just think it should be able to run a game straight out the box. That's why I don't like using ray tracing and stuff. I'd rather just get straight rasterization, if that makes sense.
Alright. The first game up is Cyberpunk, and I'm putting these settings the exact same way that Nvidia advertises it to play on the 5090. This will be interesting to see how this will scale on lower end GPUs because yeah, this might play well on the 5090, but this is ray tracing overdrive, that is path tracing with DLSS performance, upscaling from 1080p up to 4K, also doing ×4 frame generation. And that can result in some really high FPS, but does it feel good enough to play? How does it look? Is there artifacts from the frame generation and from the upscale? Let's see what the heck he says. Ready for round one?
Pretty.
What do you think's going on?
Okay, I think ray tracing is on.
Go.
The frame rate's actually rather high.
You think it feels smooth?
Yeah, it feels smooth. I see artifacting though.
Okay. What kind of artifacting you talking about?
Thinking high frame gen.
Okay.
So ray tracing, high frame gen, and then I don't think upscaling's on. But man, it looks good though.
Now, would you say this is playable?
Yeah, definitely.
So you think ray tracing is on? Do you think the game looks good with ray tracing? Like you'd like to have it on?
I'm not gonna keep it on. It's definitely a leisure, but performance hit.
Yeah.
But if I had a 5090, if it's playing like this, yeah, I'll leave it on.
5090 can kind of cook. Pretty much an air fryer.
Yeah.
Yeah, put your hand over the 5090.
This 498, that 498.
I know. It gets cooked, man. It's just like radiating heat. All right, gonna get out the room. Test 2 is to just turn off all of the Nvidia features and see which one feels better. So this is no ray tracing, this is no DLSS, just native 4K without any frame generation whatsoever. So how's the image quality? Is there less artifacting? Does the game feel much less smooth? Because you can see that we're getting much less FPS. It's like, what, 80 to 100 most of the time. Also, the latency is a little bit lower, so he might feel that. Round 2.
Oof. Latency higher.
Latency's higher. Interesting.
Ray tracing is not on.
Okay.
Frame rate feels very good, actually.
What do you think it's at?
I think it's probably around 140 or above. I'm gonna be a boss and say 160.
160?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if he's saying that the frame rate is higher because the game actually feels a little bit tighter to play, but at the same time, way underestimating the frame rate here.
I don't think it's frame gen. If it is, it's very low.
How do you think about the latency and image quality?
Image quality's decent. It's not bad at all, actually.
Yeah,
latency was better than I thought it was at first.
Okay. So it feels pretty good to play?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Now see me for part 3.
It's interesting how quickly he picked up on that there was no ray tracing. He looked at the reflective surfaces, so that does usually tell the story. But on this third test, what I want to do is just up the upscaling. No ray tracing still, but turn down the resolution scale of the game, which actually, unlike frame generation, will reduce your latency and make the game more responsive while still allowing it to run at higher FPS. The trade-off with upscaling is the image quality might break down quite a bit more than what frame generation would. But will he be able to even tell? Because DLSS super resolution, the upscaler is getting really, really good nowadays. Round 3. How's the game look?
Pretty solid. What the hell was that though? For example, I zoomed in the water. It was like had a fuzz to it.
Okay. So you're seeing an artifact, like
yeah.
a disocclusion artifact probably?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The frame rate feels pretty clean.
Based off of that, do you think frame generation's on? Does it feel like, how's the latency?
Frame generation will like be in your face, but I kind of don't feel it that bad.
Do you think ray tracing's on?
No, I don't think ray tracing's on. I didn't see any reflections, like heavy reflections.
Okay. This game still looks great without ray tracing.
Yeah, I don't think it's frame gen. I think it just might be heavy upscaling.
Just heavy upscaling?
Yeah, because the game.
And then no ray tracing.
Yeah, this one feels pretty butter smooth.
And no frame generation, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
You locking in?
I'm locking in.
Okay. You ready for the reveal? Because we've done 3 tests.
Yes, sir.
What FPS do you think it is?
Probably around. It's looking butter smooth.
Yeah.
But butter's not really smooth if it's in room temperature.
That's a good point.
Yes, sir.
Removing the paper towel.
And pow.
Right on. Right on the money, bro. You're pretty spot on with this one. So this is ultra settings, no ray tracing, with DLSS performance.
Okay.
So that's achieving that. Now you can turn off DLSS performance if you want. So this setting is actually what was on the second one.
Oh.
Just native.
Okay.
So you're right, there's no ray tracing. You said that there's frame generation though. And then the first time was actually how Nvidia advertises the game to be, which is RT overdrive with DLSS performance and ×4.
Oh yeah, the whole jungle fuck.
Which you saw a lot of artifacts. You're right about ray tracing, and you said that it wasn't being upscaled.
Okay, so I was wrong there.
Yeah, mainly because the only reason you're wrong is because there's no way it would be as responsive as it was without upscaling. But surprisingly, the upscaling artifacts are probably the least of the concerns. I think the frame generation ones are way more obvious. I think ×2 is a less noticeable, but then when you go up to ×4, it's like, oh shit, there's artifacts everywhere. What would you play the game on?
I'd want the frame rate as high as possible.
Okay. Would you want frame generation? Because you could go technically like with some upscaling to like 120 FPS without ray tracing. And then you could try to frame generate up to like over 200.
Let's be realistic here. I'm not the fake frame guy. Oh, fake frame. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't like it, but it's definitely still usable.
Try to turn it on. So with DLSS, oh, we got a crash. I guess $2,000 doesn't save you from a crash.
If we had two 5090s in the build, that probably would have helped.
So how does that feel? Because you're going from like 150 without frame gen to like 230.
Nah, I can stick with it for a bit, but then I will probably get motion sick later. It's gonna like playing Minecraft on an Xbox.
So another thing with the tells, and this will come up in other games, but one of the big artifacts, I mean, there's artifacts just from looking around with frame generation, like especially on the higher times modes, and it's pretty obvious. The HUD elements will look like they're at a lower frame rate than the rest of the game. That might not show up super well in recordings. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, $3,000. I mean, it's gonna be $3,000.
$4,000.
And you can do that. Thanks, Nvidia.
We get an air fryer, room heater, and something that can kind of do AI stuff. Kinda.
And I mean, maybe you could game too.
Yeah.
It is they say it's a GeForce graphics card, but more it's a GeForce air fryer. All right, well, let's hop over to Nvidia's other sponsored title, Alan Walk 2.
Am I allowed to see the current settings?
Yeah, you can.
All right. Oh.
4X, performance. This is how Nvidia recommends to play the game, actually. Now, I think it would be good to get down to the area with water, at least for reflections. Would you play at this? This is RT Ultra full path tracing. It's actually a new setting for ray tracing.
I will not play at this, with this, because I won't play this. But all seriously,
Does it feel good?
It's a story game. I can't really feel like anything wrong with it. Let me check with this.
It's similar.
Ew.
Yeah, what is it about controllers that just show all the flaws with frame generation? At least with DLSS.
Because you...
Is it because like these movements are more sporadic and quick?
Whoa!
What?
You see him hitting the stanky leg? He hit a high knee.
He had a...
He kicked his own ass.
Now this area of the game isn't particularly that heavy in ray tracing. You can probably tell by the shadows too. They look sharper.
Looks like the water's alive.
Ooh.
Like, it looks like those horror movies. Like, she looks up and just gets snatched under. Alright. I'm ready.
Well then leave then, bitch. The first thing I want to do in Alan Wake 2, just give them a ton of FPS. I'm going to go turn down the upscale. I'm going to go ahead and turn off ray tracing. The latency will be very low, but we'll be able to tell the image quality, or will he even think that frame generation is actually the thing that's giving us more smoothness? Round 1. Initial thoughts, how does the game look?
This may sound cruel, but like shit. Alright, now let's be serious about Alan Wake here. Ray tracing is not on.
Okay. So what kind of issues are you seeing with it? Why does it look like shit?
That's making me sick. But look, there's artifacting. It's either that or the frame rate's just too high.
Okay. You are seeing a lot of frame. Now remember, it's OLED.
Whatever's
Any
happening.
issues you're seeing are because of the game, not because of the display.
Yeah,
OLED is
whatever.
instant pixel response times.
Now,
Yep.
if I'm talking frame rate wise, it is stuttery.
Why is it choppy like that? I'm actually not sure. I'm hoping it's not because the CPU is like really hot or something. Yeah, close your eyes for a second. So make sure the CPU is not too hot. That's fine. It's at like 80, 60.
That means our frame rate is f***ing up because of frame gen.
Any frame gen's messing up the pacing?
Yeah.
Are you seeing any frame gen artifacts?
It feels like it has motion blur.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I know. It just feels choppy. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's weird. I don't know why it's choppy. Then you'll just get a random spike.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that spike? I don't know. It's in the same spot every time. Yep, same spot. Donk. Donk.
Maybe it's latency?
Now, this is a beta build, so I don't think we were having that problem before.
Probably frame gen. What's the one below DLA?
Quality?
Yeah, quality.
And then you were saying there was no ray tracing?
Yeah, no ray tracing.
Okay, get out of here, bitch.
Yo, mama.
I don't even want your opinion. Now that one was odd because we're seeing stutters in the game for some reason, and that seems to be a consistent thing. I don't know if that's because the game is a beta version here. He thought it was frame generation causing it, whereas actually the responsiveness was kind of crazy. Now it could be kind of hard to tell the responsiveness unless you have them side by side and he is going out of the room and then coming back into the room. But to test his guess, I'm going to turn off the upscaling and then just use 2 times frame generation to try to achieve about the same frame rate. So instead you're trading some latency for probably better image quality with the frame generation. Let's see if he finds out. What are you thinking? How's the game feel? How's the image quality?
Image quality's good. Man, this game is so lifeless, it gets hard to tell. I'm definitely having latency issues.
Okay, so do you think latency's gone up?
Yeah.
Do you think ray tracing is on?
Now that I can't say. I can't see any hard proof that is or isn't, because this damn forest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say no.
And you're feeling latency problems. Do you think frame gen's on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, do you see any artifacts of frame gen that you're picking out that's leading you to this?
Shit, no. I don't know who to blame for the latency, because it feels sloppy. I think my ray tracing accusation was right. No, it's wrong. Ray tracing's off.
You said it was off.
I did?
Yeah, that's what you said.
Okay.
You're agreeing with yourself right now.
I'm never wrong. The one time I thought I was wrong, I was wrong.
Damn right.
So, since I'm never wrong in these situations,
Yep, true. Never been.
I could blame the fog for blocking what I can't see.
The fog is a frame generation artifact, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, this is hard actually though.
Yeah. This is a hard one.
Because it feels choppy,
I will tell you, I gave you a very challenging one here.
All it is 4x.
4x frame gen. So what frame rate do you think you're at right now? What does it feel like?
130?
130?
No, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like 90.
What did you say? It looks like 130, but it feels like 90?
Yeah, like it feels latency.
You're locking in no ray tracing. Is upscaling?
I mean, it's not doing a damn good job if it is. If it is, it's extremely low.
Okay.
No, what's the lowest one? That'd be
Ultra performance?
Yeah.
Ultra performance looks real bad, by the way.
Extremely low upscaling with 4x.
Now, considering, so you said no ray tracing. I'm not sure if the math had
No, actually, oh.
You said no ray tracing, and if you're saying low that and frame gen's on, then your frame rate would probably be over 200.
Yeah, it'd run better. Yeah, I'm going to say no upscaling.
Okay, no upscaling?
Yeah, just 4x.
So you're saying, okay. You're saying 4x frame gen though?
3x frame
3x?
gen.
Artifacts maybe?
Yeah, it's not as bad as it could be. If that makes sense.
Alright. Let's edit. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, that one was interesting. The reason you didn't see frame generation artifacts is because frame generation wasn't that aggressive. I think on this one, we're gonna go Nvidia default spec. DLSS performance 4x. So that'll get us over 200 FPS. I see some frame gen artifacts, so I think he'll pick up on that. 4x has the most, okay? Nvidia isn't, it's not free. Also, granted, our latency actually isn't that crazy. 50 to 60, so he might feel that as well. I'm gonna throw the paper towel back on and call him back in. Round 3.
Oh, this one looks pretty good actually.
Okay.
Frame rate's nice.
Feels smooth to play them?
Yeah.
How's the responsiveness? This game is kind of sluggish anyways.
Yeah. But it feels as good as it could. I'm glad to say we went all in with the upscaling on this one.
You think ray tracing's on?
No, that I can't say. No ray tracing. We went all in on the upscaling. I don't see any frame gen in sight.
What about the graphics settings?
No, I don't see any rays traced.
I'm looking for rays. I don't see the rays.
Wait a minute. Yeah, no, ray tracing's not on. Damn, look at his jaw. He has no cheeks.
He's hella mewing right now. Respect the grind.
Alright, tell me I'm right. No ray tracing.
You said
no
aggressive
frame
upscaling.
gen.
Aggressive
upscaling.
This has been round 3 of 3, which means we get to reveal and tell you, I'm on the stupid ass bitch, you're wrong.
What, frame gen's on?
This is Nvidia advertised.
Oh, that explains a lot.
So I actually don't know how. I don't know how you.
It looks like ass though.
I don't know how you walked up to him and didn't say ray tracing was on. Look, you can see his reflection.
Well, I thought
without having him in screen space.
I was gonna say that, but you know I don't usually use ray tracing, so I just thought it was just part of the game.
It's like they baked that into a cube map. This is DLSS performance.
So I was right about that at least.
4x frame gen.
Ew.
But you didn't even say it was on.
Yeah, I know.
So do you think you could tell?
I mean, let me see. Like I said, normally in other games I would, but this game is so sloppy looking to me.
It has like a lot of mouse smoothing and stuff.
Yeah, I can't tell. Guys, unpopular opinion, I think Alan Wake looks like ass.
To me, it just looks like real life. That doesn't mean it looks good.
No, I want my graphics to look better than real life.
Okay, so do you want to know the other ones that you experienced?
Yeah, because I think I think I was wrong all this game.
So the first time I was actually testing you on if the game just felt responsive. So the first one was just high settings with DLSS performance. And you were getting about 120 FPS or so. I think in other areas it was actually closer to 140. And I think this was probably closer to the way to play. But what I think threw you off more was the second one, because that was really challenging. You didn't really see any artifacts. And that was because it was native, which you did, I did lead you a little bit, but you did say it was at native by the end of it. It was just 2x2 frame gen.
Okay.
Without any ray tracing.
That looks like shit.
Well, that's why you don't see that many artifacts. But you're getting like 120 FPS. But I wanted to see if you could feel the latency. So it's kind of like, would you rather upscale or would you rather frame generate to get the same amount of frames? You were pretty much spot on the second one. There is a question too is, I mean, this isn't a super ray tracing intensive area with this game. But do you think it would be worth using ray tracing in this game.
I remember seeing you play a later section during that nighttime.
That's Zoe.
Yeah. During that night,
The dog is farting. If you want to know, she's sleeping on my bed behind me.
During the nighttime area, that one part, yeah.
With some ray tracing where it's all...
Yeah, because this game...
There's a lot of reflections there.
I'm not gonna lie, I think this game looks terrible.
So let's try out the next game. Probably the most challenging one of the lot. Marvel Rivals is a weird one because it's a competitive game that probably won't really benefit frame generation because it's going to increase the latency. High settings at 4K. And we're getting about 120 FPS. Now on the 5090, it's going to be pretty challenging to tell because this card can achieve over 100 FPS on max settings. What we're going to go through is just feel how it is because we can feel up to 240 FPS. All right, get on my fucking room. For this first one in a competitive game, I'm going to just turn on frame generation at 2x to see if the latency makes the game unplayable. Starting at a pretty high base frame rate, so I'll see if you can even tell. Number 1.
This mirror just looks standard. I'm going to guess with this one.
What FPS do you think you got right now?
Probably solid 130, 120, 110, 120.
Okay. So what settings do you think you're at? You think upscaling's on?
No, I think it's just base, nothing else on.
Actually, I already planned out the test. If you just want to close your eyes. Now, he thought the FPS was much lower than it actually was. Now, I don't know if that's just his perception or if frame generation really didn't actually feel that much smoother in this title. I don't know what that says. The second test is doing the same game settings, so ultra, but turning on a bunch of upscaling instead of frame generation, just to decrease the latency and see if you can see the image quality problems that can come up with it. Although I think DLSS upscaling looks really good in this game, like it's hard to even tell it's on. Feel it.
Oh.
How does that feel?
Shitty.
Interesting.
I think frame gen's on. The way the foliage looks kind of off.
I think it's a little blurry or something.
Yeah.
Do you think it feels better or worse than the other one?
I think it feels worse than something feels worse about it. I just can't lay my finger on it.
Does it look worse? Oh, so we're gonna do 4 tests for this one.
I can't tell. It's just something feels off when I move. I see no upscaler. I'm gonna go for frame gen.
This must be really, really hard to tell because the latency was like half of what it was on the other one that we just did. I think only tell if you really try and back to back to back it back. So Nvidia might be on to something with, you know, if you have good enough latency and they're saying under 55 milliseconds, honestly, it's pretty good. It's not gonna give you a competitive advantage, but it doesn't feel bad. For the third test, I wanna keep that same latency, but instead of changing the upscaling, I'm just gonna turn the settings to low. And that will achieve quite a higher FPS, kind of like how you traditionally try to get more FPS out of a game. So how does the upscaling compare to actually just turning down settings? Okay.
Closing my eyes is definitely not helping.
You get blinded every time you open them?
I can't tell. This was pissing me off.
Really?
Yeah. Makes me wonder where they added this shit. But I was running a 5090, to be fair.
Yep. Yep.
Those look horrible. Look how it moves when my screen moves.
Yeah, wait, they kind of disappear. It's like there's low detail.
Yeah. And this one feels worse than the last one. Like, it's just when I move my camera, it just feels like everything melts. This one might be times 4.
You think we're still at ultra?
Hell no. High. What? No, this ultra. What is it? It's high and then ultra, right?
Yeah, high and ultra.
Okay. Now this one's ultra. I think the last one's high.
Okay.
Because I can't really tell the difference of this damn game.
Okay. I'll get in. I don't know exactly what he's getting confused here, but he said that like frame generation was equivalent to like low detail settings in the game, and that's just not true at all. But for this last test in Marvel Rivals, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on ×4 generation. The FPS will be really high. It'll actually be above the monitor's refresh rate at 240 Hertz. But is it going to feel good? Is it going to look good being so many generated frames, especially in a competitive game? Let's see. Okay. Go and try it out. How does it feel?
Smoother.
Feels
Way smoother. It's not as mushy as when I move.
You see any upscaling artifacts? You see graphics changes? Spooky doesn't make it exactly easy to see what's happening. Does it look good? Does it feel good?
I mean, I'd play on all of them. I couldn't tell the difference, and I can really lie to you. I do think there's upscaling still because it feels smoother. So I'm going to say probably 2 times with high performance, maybe?
What do you mean, ultra performance? Upscaling?
Ultra performance, yeah.
Think
I think
so?
framed is on like 2 times or something. I could be 0-4 for this one.
You might be right.
What, 0-4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This shit looked the same each time.
You ready? Reveal it in 3, 2. Now you got the cat. 3, 2, 1.
300.
What is it?
That's times 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
No upscaling.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think I was confusing upscaling.
It actually
with...
feels kind of good.
No, I think it feels like ass.
So it's a little slow for the competitive game, and there's a lot of occlusion artifacts and duplicating things.
Yeah, because
But-
like, I think I was confusing upscaling with frame gen.
So the last one, what surprised me, you were calling it, I can turn off frame gen. You were calling it ultra settings, and that was low.
Low. I couldn't tell. No, I called that one high. I called that. Did I call the one before that high then?
Do you see the difference in low and ultra though?
Yeah.
Honestly, you said it, like you didn't say it looked bad.
Yeah, it doesn't feel any different.
Yeah, I mean, it looks better with the other one, but, you know. And competitive games, honestly, sometimes you want to turn settings down so you can see what the heck is happening. The first one, it was frame generation just on 2x. But still on ultra. You didn't set anything to change with it. Then to be honest, now I have to restart the game to show you. I don't really blame you because the FPS wasn't that much higher. Without frame generation, on ultra, we're getting around 100. And with it, we're getting 150.
Okay, so I was short though. I said 120, 130.
Then the second one was with performance upscaling, which is actually interesting because you just said frame generation on that one.
Yeah, turning, I just seen like, not mush per se, but I didn't know which one it was in this game.
Could probably get on to high and then use upscaling, and all of a sudden you're getting like 160 FPS instead of 100.
Yeah.
Which is definitely fine.
All right, real question out there though. Who for real is buying a 5090 for gaming? I know
Actually, there's a lot of people.
I know they exist, but like, are those the same cluster who buy the 4090 than the 3090?
To be honest, it's people that are older than us. Do you ever think even 4x frame generation is useful? Because you need at least a
No.
200 hertz monitor to take advantage.
I don't
of
even think 4X Nvidia. They just did it for a flexing point.
it. Definitely a bigger number better.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been a pretty interesting experiment with DLSS 4. What did impress me is actually how many times Cameron went and tried it and didn't know actually if frame generation was on or off. Now there was a good chunk of times where you could say, oh, the latency was higher instantly, he felt that. Didn't even mention this too, but we had tried to record this a couple times, but we messed up the recordings. But on one of them, on Alan Wake 2, I did give Cameron one where we're at 30 FPS and I was frame generating times 4 up to like over 100. And he instantly saw that one, but surprisingly the game didn't look terrible. It just did not feel good. And I think that goes to show that it's pretty situational. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's going to be distracting, which makes me kind of want to glaze upscaling, because in so many games, especially with Nvidia's new and improved upscaler model, that one provides no drawback in latency. In fact, it actually improves your latency. At the same time, it was pretty hard, at least going from 1080p to 4K, to really even tell that it was on or off. How's the game look?
Pretty solid. Like I said, upscalers, they're fine. Frame generation, yeah.
Actually, in a lot of games, I'm looking at the screen while Cameron's playing. I'm like, I can't tell what's on. I would just turn this on automatically. And upscaling can bring you tons of performance as well. I mean, we're getting like twice the frame rate in a lot of games just by turning it on. That is definitely the more solid option, which leaves multi-frame generation in the air if it's always useful. Because frame generation needs higher base frame rates to work properly. And we're trying it on the 5090, which, yeah, sometimes we couldn't tell is on, but this is the $2,000 graphics card. This is gonna be the best experience that you can feel with multi-frame generation. And it still wasn't perfect. And that makes me wonder, especially on lower end graphics cards that are going to be coming, how is that going to fare for those? Is it barely ever gonna be useful? And then there's also the fact that, hey, if you're using a 4x frame generation, well, you need a monitor that has enough hertz, enough refresh rate in order to even see the frames that it's generating, because these multi-frame generation frames, they don't add any new information. They don't decrease the latency of the game. They're not the same as performance. Like if you go over your monitor's refresh rate and you can't see them, They literally don't matter. They don't exist. It's just wasting power on your GPU to generate them. They're really more niche than you would think, but Nvidia is sitting there and they're advertising it like it's everything. It's end all be all. And then when you get to lower end GPUs that can't get as high of a base frame rate in a lot of games, it becomes even less useful. We're going to see that as the newer cards come out. It's just going to get worse. I don't know how it's going to perform on a 5060. That's going to be rough. And the same thing does still apply to upscaling. It's way more versatile, but as you go down in resolution, and if you have a lower end graphics card, as you go down, then you have to upscale more aggressively. That makes upscaler work harder, and it's going to look worse.
Well, that proves one thing to me, though.
Yeah.
Nvidia abandoned like the lower class cards.
Something I also noticed too is just actually with ×4 frame generation, this might improve over time, but there's quite a bit of artifacts. Like I could tell when 4x frame generation was on. 3x they were less noticeable, and then 2x was like, oh, in almost every situation you can't really tell that it's on except for maybe some random little bugs like with the HUD elements and stuff like that. Now that might not bother a lot of people, and you do have to consider that sometimes we didn't notice them. But is this real performance then? With all these caveats, and Nvidia's advertising this as quote unquote performance, and that's faster than the other cards by that much or whatever, 2 times faster than a 4090. I wouldn't really say it is. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video, probably about CPU testing on this GPU to see how much it can get choked by lower end CPUs. Have a good rest of your day, and peace.
Thanks for the money, dummy.
Yeah, get vexed.
Get vexed.